Steve Harvey had answered thousands of questions during his years hosting Family Feud. He had seen contestants nervous, excited, angry, and overjoyed. But nothing could have prepared him for the question that came from 7-year-old Marcus Johnson on a warm September afternoon in 2024. It was a question so innocent, so heartbreaking, that it would leave America's favorite game show host completely speechless. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to never miss these powerful moments that remind us what truly matters in life. The Johnson family had just finished playing their game. They had won a respectable amount, enough to help with some bills, but not the grand prize. As Steve shook hands with each family member, thanking them for being on the show, little Marcus tugged on Steve's sleeve. The bright studio lights reflected off the child's big brown eyes as he looked up at the man who had made his whole family laugh for the past hour. What Marcus said next would stop production cold. In a voice clear and innocent, loud enough for everyone in the studio to hear, the 7-year-old asked a question that cut through all the game show magic and hit at something much deeper. The question was simple. The impact was devastating. And Steve Harvey's response would become one of the most viewed moments in Family Feud history, shared millions of times across social media, touching hearts around the world. Marcus Johnson was 7 years old, with a smile that could light up any room and an innocence that made everyone around him want to protect him from the harsh realities of life. He lived with his mother, Angela Johnson, in a small 2-bedroom apartment in Atlanta, Georgia. Angela worked 2 jobs to make ends meet. During the day, she was a nursing assistant at a local hospital. At night, she cleaned office buildings downtown. It was exhausting work, but she never complained. Everything she did was for Marcus. The Johnson family that appeared on Family Feud was Angela, her sister Nicole, her mother Ruth, and Nicole's 2 children along with Marcus. They had applied to be on the show 6 months earlier, hoping that winning some money might ease the financial pressure that had been crushing Angela for years. When they got the call that they had been selected, it felt like a miracle. Marcus was especially excited. For weeks, he had been telling everyone at school that he was going to be on television with Steve Harvey. What made Marcus special was not just his bright personality, but the way he saw the world. Despite the struggles his mother faced, despite the absence that marked his young life, Marcus remained optimistic and full of love. His teachers often commented on how kind he was to other children, how he always shared his lunch with classmates who had forgotten theirs, and how he drew pictures for his mother to cheer her up when she looked tired. Angela Johnson had been 20 years old when she discovered she was pregnant with Marcus. She and Marcus's father, Damon, had been dating for 2 years. They had talked about marriage, about building a life together. But when Angela told Damon about the pregnancy, everything changed. At first, he seemed supportive. He attended the first 2 doctor's appointments. He even helped Angela pick out baby clothes. But as the months went on, Damon started pulling away. 3 weeks before Marcus was born, Damon left. He told Angela that he wasn't ready to be a father, that he was too young, that he had dreams he wanted to pursue. Angela begged him to stay, promised they could work it out together. But Damon's mind was made up. He left Atlanta and moved to California. In 7 years, he had sent exactly 3 text messages to Angela asking about Marcus. But he had never once visited, never sent money, never called to hear his son's voice. Marcus knew he had a father somewhere. He had seen other kids at school with their dads at drop-off and pickup. He had been to birthday parties where fathers played with their children. When other kids talked about their dads teaching them to ride bikes or playing catch in the backyard, Marcus would listen quietly. He never asked his mother about his father because he could see how it made her sad. Even at 7 years old, Marcus understood that some questions hurt. But children need answers. They need to understand their world even when that world doesn't make sense. Marcus had spent years building up a picture of his father in his mind. Maybe his dad was a soldier fighting overseas. Maybe he was a spy on a secret mission. Maybe he was sick and couldn't travel. Marcus created these stories because the truth was too painful for a child to understand. The truth was that his father had simply chosen to leave and had chosen to stay gone. The opportunity to be on Family Feud had been a bright spot in what had been a difficult year for the Johnson family. Angela's car had broken down and she couldn't afford to fix it. She had been taking the bus to both her jobs, which meant leaving the house at 5 in the morning and not getting home until after 10 at night. Marcus stayed with his grandmother during the week. On weekends, Angela tried to make up for lost time, taking Marcus to the park, helping him with homework, reading to him before bed. The day of the Family Feud taping started with excitement. Marcus had worn his best outfit, a button-up shirt and khakis that his grandmother had bought special for the occasion. He had practiced his high five with Steve Harvey in the mirror at home. When they arrived at the studio, Marcus was in awe of everything. The bright lights, the cameras, the audience full of people. And then there was Steve Harvey himself, larger than life, funny and warm, and exactly like he was on television. The game itself was fun but challenging. The Johnson family was competing against the Martinez family from Texas. Both families were energetic and supportive of each other. Steve had the audience laughing with his reactions to some of the answers. Marcus didn't get to play in the main game because of his age, but he stood behind his mother, cheering loudly every time she got an answer right, groaning dramatically when she didn't. His enthusiasm made everyone smile. During the fast money round, Angela had done her best, but they came up short. They wouldn't be taking home the big prize. Still, they had won several $1,000s, which would help tremendously. Steve congratulated them warmly, as he always did with every family. He thanked them for being good sports and for bringing such great energy to the show. The Johnson family gathered for a final group photo with Steve. That's when Marcus tugged on Steve's sleeve. The production crew was starting to move to the next segment. The audience was waiting, but something about the way the little boy was looking at him made Steve pause. He crouched down to Marcus's level, giving the child his full attention. The cameras were still rolling. The audience quieted down. Everyone sensed that something important was about to happen. Marcus looked at Steve Harvey with those big, innocent eyes and asked the question that had been building inside him for years. The question he had been too afraid to ask his mother. The question that had kept him up at night wondering if somehow it was his fault. In a voice that was steady but small, Marcus asked, "Mr. Steve, can I ask you something? Why did my dad leave us? Was it because I wasn't good enough?" The studio fell completely silent. Steve Harvey, the man who always had something to say, who could find humor and wisdom in any situation, was frozen. His mouth opened, but no words came out. The smile that had been on his face just seconds before disappeared, replaced by an expression of pure shock and heartbreak. For several long seconds, Steve just stared at Marcus, processing what the child had just asked him. Angela's hand flew to her mouth. Tears immediately filled her eyes. She hadn't known that Marcus had these thoughts, hadn't realized that he blamed himself for his father's absence. Her mother, Ruth, wrapped her arm around Angela as she began to cry. The other family members stood stunned. The audience sat in shocked silence. Even the production crew, who had seen countless emotional moments over the years, were visibly moved. Marcus looked up at Steve, waiting for an answer. In the child's mind, this was a simple question. Adults always had answers. His teachers at school had answers. His grandmother had answers. Steve Harvey seemed like the kind of man who would have answers too. Marcus didn't understand why everyone had gotten so quiet. He just wanted to know the truth. Steve took a deep breath. Everyone could see him gathering himself, trying to find the right words. This wasn't just another moment on a game show. This was a child's life, a child's understanding of his own worth hanging in the balance. Steve had interviewed presidents and celebrities. He had handled difficult questions and awkward moments, but nothing had ever hit him quite like this. Before Steve could respond, Angela stepped forward. She knelt down beside Marcus and took his small hands in hers. Through her tears, she spoke words that every single person in that studio needed to hear. "Baby, you listen to me. You are more than good enough. You are perfect. You are smart and kind and funny and loving. Your father leaving had nothing to do with you. That was about him, not about you. Do you understand me?" But Marcus shook his head. "Then why didn't he stay? If I was good enough, wouldn't he have wanted to be my dad?" The simple logic of a child's mind was heartbreaking in its clarity. To Marcus, love was simple. If someone loved you, they stayed. If they left, it must mean you weren't worthy of their love. Steve Harvey had finally found his voice. He gently moved Angela aside and took both of Marcus's hands in his own large ones. What Steve said next would be played and replayed millions of times. It would be quoted in churches and schools. It would be shared by single mothers and absent fathers alike. It would make people laugh and cry and think deeply about what it means to be a parent. "Marcus," Steve began, his voice gentle but firm. "I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to really hear me, okay?" Marcus nodded. "Your father leaving had absolutely nothing to do with you. Nothing. You were a baby. Babies don't do anything wrong. They just exist and need to be loved. Your father left because of something going on inside of him. Maybe he was scared. Maybe he was selfish. Maybe he had problems that had nothing to do with you or your mama, but none of that is your fault." Steve paused, and everyone could see emotions playing across his face. "Marcus, I'm going to tell you something I don't talk about much. When I was young, my father left us too. For a long time, I thought it was because of me. I thought maybe if I had been better, smarter, quieter, or different somehow, he would have stayed. But you know what I learned as I got older? I learned that his leaving said everything about him and nothing about me. And the same is true for you." The audience was completely silent now, many people wiping tears from their eyes. Steve continued, "Look at your mama. Look at her right now." Marcus turned to look at Angela, who was crying openly. That woman works 2 jobs to take care of you. She sacrifices everything to make sure you have what you need. She shows up for you every single day. That's what real love looks like. That's what real parenthood looks like. It's not about biology, it's about commitment. Your father, wherever he is missing out on knowing an amazing kid. You are smart. You are kind. You are worthy of love. And any man who can't see that, any man who would walk away from his own child, that man has something broken inside him. But that brokenness is not your fault, and it's not your burden to carry. Steve's voice was thick with emotion now. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Marcus nodded slowly. I think so, he said quietly. So it's not because I'm bad. Steve pulled the child into a hug. No, son, you are not bad. You are wonderful, and I'm going to tell you something else. Just because your biological father isn't here doesn't mean you don't have fathers. You have uncles, teachers, coaches, neighbors, and men in your church who care about you. You have people who will show you what it means to be a good man. And I promise you, as you grow up, you'll find that family is about who shows up for you, not who shares your DNA. What happened next shocked everyone. Steve stood up and addressed the camera directly. To every father out there who walked away from your children, I want you to hear this. Those kids didn't ask to be born. You made a choice when you became a father, whether you planned it or not. And every day you choose to stay away is another day you're failing in the most important responsibility you'll ever have. It's not too late to make it right, but you need to step up. Then Steve turned back to Angela. And to every single mother out there doing it alone, I see you. The world sees you. You are doing an incredible job. Your children will grow up and understand the sacrifices you made. They will appreciate what you did when everyone else would have given up. You are heroes, every single one of you. The audience erupted in applause, many people standing. But Steve wasn't finished. He made a decision right there on the spot. Angela, Marcus, your family is leaving here today with more than just game show money. I'm personally going to make sure Marcus has some positive male role models in his life. I'm setting up a fund for his education, and I'm going to check in on this young man, because somebody needs to show him that men keep their word, that men show up, and that men don't run when things get hard. The production crew was crying. The audience was on their feet. Angela was sobbing as she hugged Steve. Marcus, beginning to understand the magnitude of what was happening, wrapped his small arms around Steve's leg. In that moment, something shifted not just for the Johnson family, but for everyone watching. This was no longer just a game show. This was real life, real pain, and real healing happening in front of America's eyes. When the episode aired 3 weeks later, the response was immediate and overwhelming. The clip of Marcus's question and Steve's response went viral within hours. Within 24 hours, it had been viewed over 50 million times across various social media platforms. News outlets picked up the story. Psychologists and family counselors were calling it one of the most important conversations about absent fathers they had ever seen televised. The comments section was filled with stories. Mothers shared their struggles raising children alone. Adult children of absent parents talked about their own journeys to understand that their worth wasn't defined by someone else's inability to love them properly. Even some absent fathers wrote in, some defensive, but many expressing genuine remorse and asking how they could begin to make amends. But the most unexpected response came from California. Damon, Marcus's biological father, saw the clip. He was at a friend's house when someone pulled up the video on their phone. Isn't this wild? His friend said, this kid's father just abandoned him. Damon watched the entire exchange. He watched his son, a boy he hadn't seen since he was born, ask why he wasn't good enough. He watched Steve Harvey speak truths that cut deep into his conscience. He watched Angela defend him even in his absence. Damon didn't sleep that night. For 7 years, he had justified his absence. He told himself he wasn't ready, that he was too young, that Angela was better off without him. He had convinced himself that his son probably didn't even know he existed, wouldn't miss what he never had. But watching that video, seeing Marcus's innocent face asking if he wasn't good enough, something inside Damon broke. 3 days after the episode aired, Angela received a message on social media. It was from Damon. The message was simple. I saw the show. I've been a coward and a fool. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm asking anyway. I want to meet my son if you'll let me. I want to try to make this right. Angela stared at the message for a long time. Part of her was angry. Where had he been for 7 years? Why did it take national television for him to care? But another part of her, the part that had loved him once, the part that wanted Marcus to have a father, was hopeful. Angela called Steve Harvey's team. Steve had given her his personal number and told her to reach out if she ever needed anything. Within hours, Steve had arranged for family counseling, had vetted Damon's intentions as much as possible, and had advised Angela on how to protect Marcus emotionally while still giving his father a chance to step up. Steve even offered to be present at the first meeting, to provide stability for Marcus. 6 weeks after the episode aired, Damon met his son for the first time since he was a newborn. The meeting took place at a family counseling center with a therapist present. Marcus was nervous and quiet. He sat close to his mother, occasionally glancing at the stranger who said he was his father. Damon cried when he saw Marcus. All he could say was, "I'm sorry," over and over again. The counselor helped guide the conversation. She explained to Marcus that sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, big mistakes, and that his father was trying to fix his mistake now. She made it clear that Marcus didn't have to forgive right away, that healing takes time. Marcus listened carefully, and then he asked his father the same question he had asked Steve Harvey. "Was it because I wasn't good enough?" Damon knelt in front of his son and echoed Steve's words. "No, son, it was never about you. You were perfect. I was the one who wasn't good enough. I was scared and selfish, and I ran away from my responsibility. But I'm here now, and if you'll let me, I want to be your dad, not just in name, but in action. I want to show up for you. I want to be at your school events and your birthday parties. I want to teach you things and help you grow up. I can't change the past, but I'm asking for a chance to be better in the future." It wasn't a Hollywood ending where everything was instantly fixed. Rebuilding trust takes time. Marcus was cautious with his father at first. Damon had to prove that he would actually stick around this time. But slowly, visit by visit, phone call by phone call, Damon showed up. He moved back to Atlanta. He got a job and started paying child support. He went to Marcus's soccer games. He helped with homework. He was learning to be a father 7 years late, but finally present. Steve Harvey stayed connected with the family. He featured them in a follow-up segment 6 months later, showing Marcus's progress and Damon's genuine effort to change. Steve was honest in the segment. "Not every absent father comes back," he told the camera. "Not every story ends like this. But for those fathers who are willing to do the work, who are willing to face their mistakes and change, redemption is possible. It's never too late to start being the parent your child deserves." The impact of Marcus's question reached far beyond his own family. Schools started using the clip in discussions about family structures and resilience. Churches invited Steve to speak about fatherhood and responsibility. A national organization focused on absent fathers cited a significant increase in calls from men seeking help to reconnect with their children after the episode aired. Angela started a blog about single motherhood, sharing her experiences and encouraging other mothers facing similar struggles. She wrote about the importance of not badmouthing absent parents to children, about protecting kids' emotional health while being honest about reality, and about the strength it takes to keep going when you feel alone. Her blog reached thousands of mothers who needed to know they weren't alone. Marcus, for his part, became a more confident child, knowing that his worth wasn't determined by his father's absence, but by his own character, and the love of those who chose to stay changed something fundamental in him. He excelled in school. He joined the basketball team. He made friends easily. When other children asked about his father, Marcus no longer felt shame. He could say, "My dad is learning to be better, and that's okay." 2 years after that episode aired, Marcus participated in a video with Steve Harvey for Father's Day. In it, he talked about what he had learned about fatherhood. "I used to think fathers were just the people who gave you life," Marcus said, mature beyond his years. "But Mr. Steve taught me that real fathers are the ones who show up every day. They're the ones who love you even when it's hard. My biological dad is working on being that person now, and I'm proud of him for trying. But I also know I've had fathers all along, my grandfather, my uncle, my coach, and Mr. Steve. Fathers aren't always related to you. They're just men who care enough to stay." Steve Harvey often reflected on that day in interviews. "I've had a long career," he would say. "I've won awards, hosted big shows, met incredible people, but nothing has ever mattered as much as that moment with Marcus. Because in that moment, I had the chance to change how a child saw himself. I had the chance to speak truth into a life that had been marked by abandonment. That's bigger than any game show prize. That's bigger than fame or money. That's using your platform for something that actually matters." The question Marcus asked that day, "Why did my dad leave us?" was answered not just by Steve's words, but by the actions of everyone who chose to show up for him afterward. It was answered by his mother's unwavering love. It was answered by his grandmother's steady presence. It was answered by his father's decision to finally be responsible. It was answered by a community of viewers who were moved to be better parents, better partners, and better people. As Marcus grew older, he never forgot that moment on Family Feud. It became a defining experience in his life, not because it was painful, but because it was the moment when everything changed. It was the moment when he stopped believing the lie that he wasn't good enough. It was the moment when adults in his life showed him that honest conversations about hard things were possible. It was the moment when he learned that vulnerability could lead to healing. The legacy of that single question extended to millions of viewers who saw themselves in Marcus's story. Adult children of absent parents found validation in Steve's response. Single parents found encouragement in Angela's strength. Even absent parents found a road map for redemption in Damon's journey back to his son. The moment reminded everyone that words matter, that showing up matters, and that it's never too late to choose love over fear. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. We share these powerful real-life moments because they remind us all what truly matters in life. These stories aren't just entertainment. They're lessons in humanity, in resilience, and in the power of choosing to be better than our mistakes. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Whether you're a single parent doing it alone, a child wondering about your worth, or someone who needs to step up and take responsibility, know that change is possible. Your story isn't over. Thank you for watching, and remember that you are enough. You always have been, and you always will be.